You wouldn't believe it, but I just played the most venerable and epic 4X space game, and it only took 2 hours. Hey there, everyone. It's Kylie at Games Unlimited. This week, it's time to talk about Twilight Inscription. Now, when this game was announced, I kind of thought it was an April Fool's Day joke. Let's take Twilight Imperium, the big epic 4X game, really the grandparent of 4X space games, and let's turn it into a roll and write. Something like, Welcome to, or That's So Clever, or even Yahtzee. How are you supposed to do that? Well, I'm here to say they have done it. So after my initial shock, I was like, actually, this makes sense, because they announced this is going to be a 90 to 120 minute roll and write with a fairly hefty price tag for a roll and write. And I thought, well, if Twilight Imperium, which by the way I've played once and it was an 11-hour game, if that were going to be turned into a roll and write, making it something that's longer than any roll and write you've ever seen is probably appropriate. So let's take a look at what this is. So this game can play solitaire up to 8 players, but it's still about the same 90-minute to 2-hour time frame regardless. Now each player is going to get 4 different player boards. The classic 4X's in 4X: explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. They give them some different terms, but basically you've got a player board of exploration. It's called the navigation board, and it's going to show you basically like a star system, different places you can go, pathways you can go, planets you can collect and conquer. Then you have the expansion board. This is where you're actually going to this would be the exploitation board in a traditional 4X. This is where you're going to get resources from those planets. Next, you have the industry board, or the exploitation board. Let's see, explore, expand, exploit. Yeah, this would be the exploitation board. This is where you're going to check off things to get resources, to get raw materials that are going to get you points and some other things. And last, of course, exterminate, which they call warfare. This is where you're going to build ships. Now, in this game, even though it goes up to 8 players, you're only concerned about the player on your left and right. So like a lot of games, it managed to condense this by not having you interact with all of the other players. Just the player on your left or your right are who you're concerned with warfare. Now, the way it works is you've got your 4 boards. Everyone's going to be given a unique race. I'll talk about those in a second. And then a card's going to be flipped. Now, most of the cards are strategy cards. Those are the cards that are going to let you interact on your board. And this has a lot of that roll and write feel. So you're going to be given a couple of symbols, and you have to decide which of the 4 boards do you want to make active for this round. Which board are you going to interact on? Now, each board has different ways that they work. So like with the exploration board, certain symbols let you explore out. Other symbols are going to let you claim planets. With the what do they call it, expansion board here, the symbols themselves are what you're going to cross out. And when you can cross out a complete row or column, you're going to get special assets at the end of that. So each of the board works a little bit differently. You're going to see the strategy card, decide what board you're going to want to use, and you have a couple of symbols. Everybody has access to those same symbols. Then we're going to roll the dice. Now, the dice themselves have those symbols on it, but you don't know what's going to come up, and you've already chosen what board you're going to use that particular round. So the dice are rolled, and now you get to use whatever symbols come up on that same board. You're not allowed to switch boards. Each round, the board you choose is the board you're working on. Now, one of the interesting things is I've sort of tallied up. Each of the boards has a maximum amount of points it can give you, somewhere in the range from 32 to 40, depending on the board. And there's some variability on some of them. But that's, if you went all in on that board, maxed it out, you're looking at 30 to 40 points that you're going to get for that board. Now, my winning scores in the games that I've played have been in the 60 to 80 range. So obviously you're going to need at least a couple of boards that you're maxing out. But like all great roll and writes, you're going to want to do more than you can. So you might want to spread it out amongst a few different boards. You might be able to ignore a board. Maybe you ignore the warfare board. There are some negatives for that. You're going to lose the wars that come up in each age, but that's some minus points. But really what you're giving up is the advantages of having gotten some of those things. So you can focus on a board, but each board also has things that help a different board. So there's really you have a vested interest in doing a little bit of everything on all of the boards. Now, I mentioned the unique races. This is fascinating. There's 24 different unique race cards in the game, and they give you drastically different powers. I'll give you an example. The most recent game I played, one of these boards is where you sort of like colonize. You get new people in your civilization, and the more people you get, the more points it's going to be worth. That's where all the points on this board actually come in. You can get up to like 36 or so points just by like being able to circle enough people as you go up. Well, one of my opponents had a race that actually allows them to genetically modify / execute people to turn them into really powerful resources, particularly these extra dice. So when you roll, there are 3 extra dice that you can unlock on each board, the ability to have access to those dice. You could just turn those people into that. Normally, they're very difficult to get. I had a race that has a special power. So one of the things that happens in the game, besides war, there are these political events where a card's going to come up and everybody uses votes to vote on whether they want that thing to pass or fail, depending on the result that they want. I had a race that actually let me use votes to help me win wars. That's something that other races don't have access to. So a lot of variability there. Plus, each of the boards is unique, so you have different setups of boards. I think they knocked it out of the park. I mean, I'm probably never going to play Twilight Imperium again. 11 hours is just a bit much. But Twilight Inscription, I've already played several times because you can just play it in a couple hours. If you like roll and writes and want to take them to that next epic feel, or if you like 4X games like Twilight Imperium or Eclipse, but want something that can be condensed down and have a little different flavor, I think Twilight Inscription is going to be with us for a very long time. I'm Kylie at Games Unlimited. I'd love for you to come down, take a look at it, pick up a copy, write your way into the Galaxy history books, and unbox some fun.